And no, Brad, I want to kind of loop you in here. We saw a large amount of people quitting their jobs and changing careers, of course, during the pandemic, the Great Resignation, all that. I want to know, does the hybrid model change hiring practices with some people not wanting to work exactly in the office or not wanting to work entirely in the office?
I think certainly, Nick, that the turbulence that we've seen in the talent market has further stimulated some of these trends that we're talking about today. As an example, we did some research here through our Center for Advanced Human Resource Studies in late 2020, early 21 on remote work and asked companies, where do you think you'll be when the pandemic ends? And at that time, about 35% of the companies that we talked to said, as soon as the pandemic's done, they're going back to the way work was done previously. What then happened, and you alluded to, is then we had the Great Resignation. We had a lot of employees, as Don also mentioned, shifting jobs and moving jobs. And I think that really forced those companies that said, oh, we're just going to go back to the way it was before, to really rethink that, because employees want and expect flexibility. And if companies aren't going to offer that, I think employees, particularly in today's talent market where unemployment remains really low, they have a lot of choices. And so they'll go to companies that will offer those types of benefits to them, particularly if other competitors in your own industry are offering those types of benefits. So, we're seeing this a lot in the tech industry where you have, some companies saying, we're staying fully remote, others saying we're bringing people back in the office. I think it's really kind of creating this competitive talent market, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. I think what also will be really interesting to see is, what happens if these predictions about, a potential recession or at least a slowdown in the economy happen. We've already seen some employers, large employers, signaling that they're starting to pull back on hiring, they're freezing hiring. We're even seeing some companies starting to engage in some layoffs. If that happens, what will be the implications for these flexible work practices? Will companies say, well, now we have the upper hand and we're going to go back to the way it was? Or will, to Donna's point, will there be enough momentum? We've figured this out. We can see that we can be productive. And will we continue down that path? Personally, I'm really interested to see how this plays out over the next year or two, depending on some of these market forces and the impact that they have.
Mm-hmm. And I have another poll question, but I just actually got a really, really great audience question from Mr. Kumar. Mr. Kumar asks, I work remotely with my team. What sort of exercises can we do to engage team members more? And maybe, Brad, you can take us off, and then Donna, I'll ask you the same question.
Yeah, I would start with the point that Donna raised around, culture, and your point too, Nick, that a lot of it is about the experience of connecting with your coworkers. When we're in the office, that happens naturally. That happens informally. We have a meeting, people walk into the conference room, we sit down, we chit chat with people before the meeting starts. There's that natural kind of relationship building that just occurs. Or we run into someone in the hallway or by the water cooler. That doesn't happen in remote work. And in fact, to Donna's point, research shows that virtual and remote teams are much more likely to just dive right into the task-based components and focus very little attention on those social components. So what I've seen organizations and teams do is really take time to engage in those kind of social interactions. Spend some time at the beginning of a meeting, just some unstructured time for people to share whatever they want. Talk about what's happening in the workplace. Talk about what's happening in your own personal life. Mm-hmm. I've seen other companies or teams take that to the next level where employees will share, panoramic pictures of things that they did maybe on their summer vacation or, what they, other things that are important to them in their lives. But the whole point is that when you're a remote and virtual team, you really need to be purposeful, systematic, and planful about creating and orchestrating those opportunities, because they're not going to occur just by happenstance. And so you need to make sure that you build it into your team's rhythm and everyday types of interactions.
It's funny you mentioned pictures. I have a newborn, and every morning my team's like, I want to see a picture of your newborn.
Because they change so quickly.
They do. They change very quickly. So it's funny you mentioned that, Brad. But I also wanted to get your thoughts, Donna.
Yeah.
What advice would you give Mr. Kumar?
Well, I couldn't agree more with Brad, and I think it's really important to be mindful, because when people have really good experiences at work and they feel included, they're more productive, and that's really great for everyone. There are many things that you can build into meetings, whether the organization requires you to build them in, or the individuals in that particular work group decide to build them in. Some kind of an etiquette around what are we going to do. Adding time to a particular meeting to have the small chit chat is a really great idea, but you can also designate some personal time, some meetings that are not about the formal meeting and not about the procedural project management piece, but hey, let's get together and just catch up on things, what's going on, to continue to build that camaraderie, right? To have those bonding experiences. It's okay to do that, and it's probably going to become more normal.